guys, I'm Lonelywolf here, and this is the first in our series of guides to help you on your way and your journey in the long dark. So, we're assuming, starting with this episode and going forward, from the very basic beginnings of the game, working through the very basest of the base game mechanics and working up to more advanced tips. So, you've just bought the long dark, or maybe you've had it for a while and just looking for a few more tips. You've just started a new sandbox, maybe your very first one, or even Wintermute on story mode, and you're wondering, what am I supposed to do? Well, the first thing you can do is you can press tab, and it's going to bring up your heads up display, your statuses. And what you need to worry about here are primarily the things on the bottom. So you've got in the bottom left corner, you've got your health, that's your overall condition. And it starts at 100, and when it hits 0, you're dead. So it's a good idea to kind of keep that topped up a little bit. Don't want that to run out. And the way that runs out, so if you see in the center of the screen, I press tab, we have 4 little icons. One is temperature, one is fatigue or how awake you are, one is water, and one is food. Obviously, cold will kill you quicker than anything else in this game will. So the first thing you're going to want to do from wherever you spawn in, maybe you won't be as close to shelter, perhaps if you're starting on the easy game mode, you'll be right in shelter. First thing you want to do is you want to locate shelter. This can be a car, building, a place out of the wind. How do you know you're out of the wind? I want to see if I can find which way the wind's blowing, and I will show you guys. You can pop up around corners of buildings or other things until you get, if it is even windy. Yeah, there we go. See, up at the top middle of the screen, you got a little shield icon with a swirly do in it. That means you're sheltered from the wind. So you're gonna want to look for shelter. Very first thing. That's top on your priorities. You don't want to be doing anything else. You don't want to be just looking through your backpack. You don't want to be doing anything until you find shelter. So that's first order business. So, here we go. Look, here's a house right here. Let's go ahead and go right in. And once you get to shelter, the first thing you want to do is you want to go through the shelter. So look, there's something I've already looked at. You can just pop it over, but normally when you search things, I'll see if I can find something. You can find books, you can find clothes, newsprint roll, cardboard box. Normally when you find something though, you can just look at it straight away like this. Just click on it, it'll search. If there's anything in it, it'll give it to you. If not, then you'll be rewarded with nothing. So that's the first thing you want to do, is you want to find shelter. This is the very first, that's your top priority. And then your second priority is to loot that shelter. From wherever you spawn in. Maybe you don't know the maps, maybe you know them a little bit. The best way to learn is just by exploring. You're going to die a lot at first, and that's okay. That's how all of us learned at the beginning. And that's why I'm giving you these tips, is so you don't have to die as much as the rest of us did. So you get to your shelter, you loot it. What do you do now? Well, you can press I to bring up your inventory. That'll start in all, and you can sort your backpack around. So you got your fire starting. So you can see I've got a cellar, I've got cash, which can be used as tinder. I've got a newsprint. You can harvest it, and it'll get you tinder plugs. It's more beneficial to harvest these things instead of just using them straight up as tinder. And you've got actual tinder plugs, matches. You can also get such things as magnifying glasses, or flares, or fire strikers to start fires. Flares and such will show up down here, see in your tools section. So you got your meds. This is where they show up. You've got your clothing. It's right in here. You'll start out with pretty abysmal clothing. You'll want to repair it. You'll want to find new clothing. Your food, your tools, and your materials that you can use in crafting. So that's the very beginning of the basics. So what it's going to take at the very beginning, after you loot your first shelter, is finding another bit and looting a bit. So your primary goal in the beginning of the game is to keep your condition bar topped up and your needs meters, these 4 icons in the middle, topped up. The thing that will kill you faster than anything else in this game is the cold. So you're going to want to make sure you're warm. Now it's going to be difficult at first due to the weather outside. Maybe if you're starting in Pilgrim or Voyager, it'll be pretty easy to keep up with the temperature. But Stalker and Loper especially will really ruin you on the weather. You'll be cold all the time. Next one you want to keep up is your thirst. After that, you can pretty much starve to death for about 4 days straight, or go without sleep for 4 days straight and not really worry about it until you die. I would recommend keeping those as topped up as possible, but you can abuse those a little bit. You don't have to worry about them as exclusively as you would other things. So what happens once you've, looted a couple of places? Well, the outdoors is dangerous. I'm playing on Pilgrim here to show you guys, but we step outside. Look, we got a wolf down here in the middle of town. And actually, he's running away right now. On Pilgrim, wildlife doesn't bother you unless you actively attack it. So, see how the wolf stopped spazzing out and decided to act like a decent canine animal? Yeah, either this would be a bad idea in any difficulty above Stalker, or even above Pilgrim, or if you have custom difficulty set to have animals not bother you. You know, so the weather will kill you. Look, we got a little bunny rabbit there. There he is. The weather will kill you. Wolves will kill you. Moose can hurt you. Bears can hurt you. So normally it would be a very bad idea to be hunting down Mr. Wolfie like I am right now. There's another guy up over there, unless it's the same one that I lost track of. So you're going to want to avoid wolves. You're going to want to avoid bears. You're going to want to avoid moose. So once you looted, you know, your first shelter, your next priorities are to be focusing on getting gear. And you're going to need to build up to a few items. Hi, pal! The few items you're going to need, of course, is better clothes. As you can see, we have virtually nothing here. Nothing of very good values. If I press F, you can see the air temperature is only 17. We've got wind chill of -5, so it only feels like 22 degrees outside. And you can see my clothes don't offer much bonuses. So you're going to want to, the first things you're going to want to do, depending on the experience mode you're playing, is get better equipment on your clothes. You're going to want to get tools. If you're playing on Interloper, you're going to need bedroll to go and craft your tools. The next best thing to do is to get natural resources. This can be some of the things you might have seen lying around. I'll go back up over here and find them again for you guys. You're going to be wanting to pick up natural medicine. That's much lighter and just as effective as your synthetic or store-bought medicine. So you can use reishi mushrooms as antibiotics. You can use rose hips as painkillers, and you can use the wonderful Oldsman beard lichen as antiseptic. Let me see if I can find some of those right there. Alright, so over here hanging down off the bottom of trees, you get yourself some old man's beard lichen. It takes 3 of these, and you can open it in the crafting menu, which you can get to by pressing J. And you can turn 3 of these into, well, it might differ the recipe on experience mode, I can't remember, but you can go to crafting right over here. And you can see, yep, requires 3. And you can just craft a wounds dressing. And this little wounds dressing, you can put on if you get bitten by a wolf or something, or a bear, and you have infection risk, you can put it on. Same thing with the reishi mushrooms and the rose hips, you can just boil those down into teas. So you're going to want to be picking up natural resources as you find them, looting locations as you find them, but resources are finite. You're eventually going to deplete the resources in the area you're at. So you're going to need to focus on moving about pretty often. You're going to need to focus on accumulating more resources and getting set up to a point where it's achievable that kind of differs player by player, but you'll hit something known as the mid game. And before we get there, there's a few other primary things you're going to need to know how to do. One of those is starting a fire. You can either access that by the campcraft menu by pressing space and going down over here and clicking on fire, or you can alternatively do it by pressing the 4 key on your keyboard. You can place a fire and then you light it through here. I'm actually going to light a fire just to show you guys. Once you get a fire started, you can use a accelerant to make it start faster. You have 3 options at the top. Fuel, this is where you can add more fuel. You can take a torch from your fire. You've got food, where you can cook anything you found, and water. This will often kill new players. They don't know about it. You'll run out of water and you're like, excuse me, I can't find any more water. You can get water out of toilets, or you can boil water at a fire. First you gotta melt snow, and then you've got to boil it once you've melted it. So once you've actually cooked or melted the snow, I don't have enough time on my fire really to do it. There'll be a second option right down here under it where you have to boil it. Or alternatively, if you have them in your med slot, you can use water purification tablets. So that's the basics of getting started in any beginning on the Long Dark or the sandbox mode. We'll be moving forward to a couple more tips to help coast you through, a couple of ideas, play styles, help coast you through in the next video to the mid-game, and then we'll be discussing mid-game strategies. The early game, which we'd be in right now, deal with getting basically set up a little bit, beyond what you start with in terms of clothing and starting loot and gear, and moving forward into getting some tools and some better clothing and a little bit more established in whatever region you're in. And then from there you can move on to the mid game. And we will cover that and those tips in the next guide. I hope you've enjoyed this one so far. I hope it's been helpful to you. If you've enjoyed it, if you'd like to see more, go ahead and drop a like or subscribe or do whatever it is all those crazy YouTubers tell you to do, right? And I will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, this has been Lonely Wolf.